Lord, our God and Father, fountainhead of all peace and solace, we gather in your presence at this moment, with open hearts and eager minds, to seek your wisdom and your discernment. We acknowledge human frailty, the propensity to fall into unseen snares that can, stealthily, undermine the very foundations of what is most precious to us, our relationships. How often, on our earthly journey, have we found ourselves entangled in a web of worries, fears, and uncertainties that, without our conscious awareness, began to distort our perception, erect barriers in our connections, and estrange those we hold dear? Anxiety, that unwelcome companion, often masquerading as zeal, excessive care, or a profound desire to protect and be protected, can, in fact, act as a subtle poison, corroding trust, eroding communication, and sowing distrust where love and understanding once flourished. This is not an external assault, not a declared enemy we can combat with visible strength and strategy. On the contrary, anxiety operates from the inside out, manipulating our thoughts, our emotions, and, consequently, our actions, often so imperceptibly that we become the architects of our own solitude, without even recognizing the ruin we are constructing. We perceive, Lord, that this is not a battle we can win through our own might. Anxiety, in its insidious nature, blinds us to the damage it inflicts. It causes us to misinterpret the intentions of others, leads us to conjure catastrophic scenarios that bear no resemblance to reality, and emboldens us to adopt defensive or controlling behaviors that, while seeming protective, ultimately push people away. We witness this in our daily interactions. The impatient retort, the suspicion that arises without apparent cause, the constant need for reassurance, the paralyzing fear of rejection or abandonment, the difficulty in delegating or trusting that another will do what needs to be done. Each of these signs, in isolation, may seem a minor annoyance, an isolated flaw in our character. But when viewed through the lens of anxiety, these behaviors become patterns, repeating and intensifying, weaving a thick mantle of misunderstanding and distance between us and our spouses, our children, our parents, our friends. Communication becomes strained, silences grow heavy, and moments of intimacy are supplanted by constant vigilance and apprehension. Our pursuit, Father, is not merely for a temporary reprieve from the discomfort of anxiety, but for a profound transformation that enables us to love and be loved authentically and healthily. We desire to unravel the mechanisms by which this disquiet infiltrates our relationships, often without our explicit consent, and how it distorts our perceptions, leading us to act in ways that harm rather than nurture. We seek to comprehend how the need for control, the fear of the unknown, and the incessant pursuit of security, common manifestations of anxiety, can sow discord, erode trust, and create a chasm of misunderstanding between those who genuinely love each other. We believe that, through your light, we can begin to discern the subtle signs, the automatic reactions, the distorted thoughts that anxiety engenders, and thus learn to combat them not with more anxiety, but with faith, with love, and with the peace that only you can bestow upon us. This is an invitation to a journey of self-discovery and healing, where, guided by your Spirit, we will learn to recognize and dismantle the snares of anxiety in our homes and in our lives. This moment is an invitation to look inward, into the depths of our own hearts and minds, and to acknowledge the often subtle and disguised presence of anxiety in our most intimate interactions. This is not an indictment, but an awakening to a reality that may be shaping our relationships in ways we do not even suspect. How often does genuine concern morph into suspicion? How often does a desire to protect become suffocating control? How often does a fear of abandonment lead us to create distance ironically when we most crave closeness? Anxiety is not merely an internal sensation of unease. It is an active force that, when unrecognized and unaddressed in your presence, seizes control, distorting our perception of reality and, consequently, our actions, thereby undermining trust, corroding communication, and sowing seeds of discord where love and understanding once flourished. The beauty and fragility of human relationships lie in their complexity, in their capacity to uplift and strengthen us, but also in their vulnerability to internal influences that, without our conscious awareness, can dismantle what has been painstakingly built. The journey we embark upon here, Lord, is an invitation to unravel the unconscious patterns, automatic reactions, and distorted thoughts that anxiety engenders. We wish to learn to identify the signs that, often overlooked, nevertheless indicate the presence of this subtle force at play in our lives: the constant need for reassurance, the paralyzing fear of rejection, the difficulty in trusting others, the tendency to conjure catastrophic scenarios, and the impatience that manifests in harsh words or charged silences. These are not merely personality traits, but symptoms of an internal battle which, if not waged under your guidance, can have devastating consequences for those we hold most dear. Anxiety can lead us to perceive threats where none exist, misinterpret others' intentions, and compel us to erect defensive walls that, in reality, trap us in a cycle of isolation and misunderstanding. Our aim is not merely to manage anxiety, but to transform it, allowing love, trust, and peace to prevail in our relationships, to your glory and for the well-being of those around us. Beloved Father, at this juncture, we turn our attention to an even more subtle aspect of anxiety's influence on relationships, the way it can distort our expectations and lead us to project our needs and fears onto our partners, friends, and family. Instead of perceiving the other as they truly are, with their own unique qualities, limitations, and history, the anxious mind tends to mold them into a reflection of our own insecurities. This manifests in myriad ways, such as the expectation that the other will anticipate our unexpressed needs, or the belief that love and affection must be demonstrated in a specific and unquestionable manner, often dictated by an unrealistic template we have internally created. This projection acts as a veil,